Black mold will actually start off as a green colored mold in many cases before turning black. If this black mold begins to grow on the outside of your house or your porch, people will often think that it's something like a harmless mildew or a moss. Due to it being green in color, I believe that this strain of black mold requires light in its development. So here are some examples of both white and black mold that I have found on my property. So when you have significant mold in your home will become stale smelling. And that smell will be like old wood or sour water or even a musty BO type smell. People who have a house that smells like this often attribute it to the house being old. So it smells like an old cabin, or it smells like old water pipes that may need to be replaced. But the truth is that they have a mold problem. And this is never discussed anywhere in the media or public domain. The truth is that if you smell any of these smells, or even a BO type smell, like a sweaty head, or clothes that need to be washed, this is due to a mold buildup in the room or in the house. To kill mold around your house, you will need to use an ammonia solution consisting of 1 cup of ammonia to 1 gallon of water. And you will put this solution into spray bottles. And you will use this spray to spray down the walls, windows, furniture, and floors of your house. So you will pick one room and empty it out of all your personal belongings. So it will be a good idea to buy several plastic storage bins and also buy large plastic garbage bags. So you will take your things off the shelves and put it into the storage bins. So all this needs to be decontaminated. And the best way to do this is to soak these things in ammonia and water for 12 hours. So when you are soaking things, you just have to add 1 cup of ammonia to a storage bin and fill the rest with water, so that all the items are submerged in this water and ammonia. Then you let it soak for 12 hours. However, when you are using ammonia as a spray to spray down your walls, you must use a higher concentrated solution of 1 cup of ammonia to 1 gallon of water. Next, take all the picture frames off the walls and stack them in another room, so later you could carefully wipe them down with the ammonia solution without damaging the photographs. Next, take all your linen out of the room. Take all your clothes, your blankets, take the curtains down, take out the throw rugs, and you put what you can in the storage bins to sanitize. So the whole room will be emptied out, and that means empty out your closets, you empty out your dressers. and you put what you can into the storage bins, and you add 1 cup of ammonia into each storage bin, and then you fill the rest up with water. And you let them stay like that for 12 hours before running them through the wash. All the rest of the clothes and linens waiting to get soaked in the ammonia and water, you could keep in large garbage bags, tied shut and brought out of the room into the laundry room or into the basement, for example. Just empty everything out of the room, leaving behind only the furniture and the bed. Next, you want to move the furniture and bed away from the walls the best you can so it will not be in your way as you spray down your walls. You can move the furniture into the center of the room, or you may have to move the furniture a couple of times as you walk around the room spraying down the walls so that they will not be in your way. Next, you will spray down everything in the room with the ammonia solution. As you spray down the walls, the ammonia solution will rinse a lot of the mold off the walls, which will drip down and fall onto the edges of your floor. So you will need to cover the floor with a blanket or drop cloth, especially if you have wall-to-wall carpeting. So you could take an average twin-size bed blanket, you could cut into 3 pieces so it could go along the edges of your room and catch all the mold that will drip off your walls as you spray down the walls. You will also want to take extra care around your heaters. You don't want the mold to drip off the walls and go into the heaters. So use painter's tape to cover up the vent opening. Then run the blanket underneath the heater safely and evenly so that it will not come in contact with the hot part of the heater. So you start at the top of the wall and you spray down the walls, doing one section at a time, making sure you cover the entire wall with a mist of ammonia solution. And that means your windows too. And then you let it go to work. And this will kill 80 to 90% of the mold. When you have your whole house to disinfect, it is okay to skip the ceilings and just focus on the walls, unless you see mold is up on the ceilings too. So to do this right, you must go around the entire room and spray everything down with the ammonia. That will give the ammonia time to work, and it will kill most of the particles and will weaken and dry up the rest. And after you've sprayed down the walls in the room, you will need to wipe down the walls with towels. This process is very important and will remove all the remaining mold spores. If you do not do this, the mold will just continue to grow back again and again. So this is very important. You must spray down the walls in the room before you go back using the towels to wipe everything off. If you decide to skip this step and just go around spraying and wiping off the walls, the mold will not come off the wall. So to do this right, you must go around the entire room and spray everything down with the ammonia. That will give the ammonia time to work, and it will kill most of the particles and will weaken and dry up the rest. And then when you return to the starting point to spray down the starting point and then wipe it down with the towels, you'll see that the wall comes out very clean and everything comes off the wall very easily. To spray the solution, you could use any glass cleaner bottle. However, I have found that when the spray bottles get old, they will not spray very well, and then it will end up taking way too long. So you always want to make sure that you have good spray bottles that are working well. While you are spraying the ammonia solution, mold particles will be coming off the surfaces and floating in the air. So you do not want to breathe this. You will need to wear something like a breather or a bandana to cover up your nose and your mouth so that you will not end up breathing a lot of the mold spores that you are spraying off the walls. So when spraying the ammonia solution, you should always have proper ventilation. So open the windows in the room, and when you smell a lot of ammonia in the air, leave the room for a few minutes for the ammonia mist to settle down. I have found that it's best to use many small towels that are about the size of a washcloth. And the reason is because the towel's fibers will scrape the mold off the walls. So the mold will be caught in the fibers of the towels. And after using the towel, it will need to be sanitized. When I first started out, I thought I could save myself time by just using a sponge mop on the walls with a bucket of water and ammonia. But the mold came back in that room because all I was doing was mopping the mold off one part of the wall and then mopping it back onto another. So after a while, all you have is a bucket filled with moldy water. So the mold will end up surviving and coming back in that room. Meanwhile, by using towels, you are scraping the mold off the wall. The towel traps the mold in its fibers, and then once the towel becomes damp, once the towel becomes saturated, you will place the moldy towel into a storage bin filled with ammonia and water. So you want to change the towels as often as possible because they will end up trapping a lot of the mold in its fibers. So you take that towel and you put it into a bucket nearby and you grab a new towel. So after you spray down everything in the room, you go back to the starting point, the place where you started spraying. And then you spray down an area lightly, and then you wipe it down with a towel. You have a breather on your face, and you stand close to the wall, making sure that any type of particle on the wall will come off. And the particles most often will look like globs of black, little pieces of hair, or dirt, or lint. Make sure your walls are wiped down clean. By spraying everything down first, the ammonia will get a good deal of that. And now is the second step of making sure that your walls are absolutely clean by removing any particles that remain. So make sure the walls are wiped down so that you don't see any particles on the wall whatsoever. As you're wiping down your walls, you will also have to clean the windows the best you can. So you will open them and use the spray bottle to spray inside all the grooves. Then take a little piece of towel and wrap it around something like a screwdriver, like this, and you use that to kind of get into the grooves. So while you are in the first stages of cleaning your house, you are aiming to get the worst of the mold out so that you and your family do not become sick. But then, at a later time, you will need to remove the windows that become something like greenhouses for mold and clean them more thoroughly. And we'll discuss that in full detail in a later section of this report. When you have your whole house to disinfect, it is okay to skip the ceilings and just focus on the walls, unless you see mold is up on the ceilings too. The only thing on your ceilings that will need to get sprayed and wiped down are your lights and ceiling fans. So kill the fuse and turn off the light, remove the light bulbs, remove the light covers, and then spray the light bulbs and light covers down with the ammonia solution. Like everything else, you let it dry, and then later on you'll spray it and wipe it down a second time. And the same thing with the ceiling fan. You'll spray it down, let it dry, and then go back and spray it down a second time so you can then wipe the remaining particles off the ceiling fan. So after you've sprayed down all the walls, then return to the starting point and then spray and wipe down every part of the wall. You must do the same process for your furniture in that room. So you set out a blanket or tarp, you remove the drawers, and then you spray down every part of the furniture. And then just let that sit, covered with the mist of ammonia solution for it to go to work. And then you'll take every drawer and spray every part of every drawer down with the ammonia, and then let that sit to decontaminate. Now for your bed, if you haven't already, you want to stand your mattress and box springs up against the wall with a drop cloth underneath. And you want to spray every side of your mattress and your box spring. By standing these up, the excess water and ammonia can run down the sides and fall into the drop cloth instead of soaking deeper into the mattress. When you are cleaning your box springs, turn it around, you'll notice that it will be covered with a fabric, a black fabric. It'll be stapled in. All you want to do is pull that off and carefully throw it away. So the first thing that needs to come off are these plastic pieces right here. And they're just put in with staples, so you just basically take a plier, needle nose plier, works pretty good. You put it right in here, and then you pull it off. Alright, so the plastic pieces are all removed. The black fabric is removed. So spray around all the outside, spray the wood, and then go in here and spray the inside of this here. And I'm just good just to hit one section at a time, like this back, and then come over here and do that side, and then come over here and do this side, and then do the bottom and flip it over when you can and do the other side. I have sprayed the mattress, keeping it flat on the ground. And for some reason, it does not work as well as when you stand the mattress up and lean it against the wall and then spray it down. By standing them up, the mattress and box springs will get cleaner than if you spray them down while they're lying flat. After you spray them down and they dry about 5 to 6 hours later, spray them down again until you no longer smell a stale odor. The ammonia, the dry ammonia, will have a smell kind of like a dried apple for a little while, but that smell will fade. But you do not want to detect any sort of musty type smell. Lots of times people think it's because the mattress got old and it just sweat. If you smell musty or BO smell, your mattress has mold. And the only way to get the mold off is to spray it down with ammonia. And you can do that 2 or 3 times until you get rid of any musty or BO type smell. And it's very important because that is where you and your children will be sleeping and putting your faces. After you spray down your mattress and box springs, then go back to the furniture. By then everything should be kind of disinfected there and kind of drying off. And then you want to spray down and wipe down the parts to that. So you take your first drawer, you spray that down, and then you wipe it off. Go to your next drawer, you spray that one down, you wipe it off. You spray and wipe down the inside of the dresser. You want to turn the dresser upside down and spray underneath and wipe that down. So when you're spraying down your mattress, box springs, and furniture, you want to make sure that you have a drop cloth on the floor. And the best thing to use is a blanket. A plastic tarp is not going to be easy to clean. And you don't want a plastic tarp to kind of fill up with pools of this moldy water. It's not going to be easy to clean giant canvas tarps either. So just make sure you use blankets or tarps that will fit into your washer or into the plastic bins. Otherwise, you will not be able to decontaminate them and the mold will continue to grow back in your house. After a few hours, turn the mattress and box springs around so that the other sides are facing out. You also want to turn them so that the bottom side is now facing up, and this will help it dry evenly. You must also clean the floors. As I said before, careful attention must be placed on the sides of the floor where the walls meet the floor. When you get to the heaters, you want to take off the front metal panel. The front is very easy to come off. The side pieces come off like this, and then the front metal panel unhooks real easily just by lifting it off. And it has this groove here that sits right on these hooks. That way you could spray the ammonia solution carefully under the heaters the best you can. If you have wall-to-wall carpet, take your spray bottle and go around the perimeter of the room first. You should go all around the edges of the room first and spray a good amount of the spray onto the sides of the carpeted floor. You can also twist the nozzle so it becomes a stream, and make sure that you get that ammonia solution into the edges of the carpet where the carpet meets the wall. That way you can spray the ammonia solution carefully under the heaters the best you can. Take your time to spray a good amount on the carpet so that the carpet is wet with the ammonia solution. You will take the ammonia solution and spray down the entire carpet. And after about 6 or 8 hours, you want to spray down the carpet again. It has been my experience that the mold will return in places, especially around the heaters. So you're going to want to fully clean the heaters at a later time. After you get done disinfecting your whole house, you want to go back and thoroughly clean the heaters, as well as the windows. And I will discuss how to do that in a little bit. But at first you want to get the worst of it off your house. If you have hardwood floors or you don't have carpet on your floors, same thing as everything else. You want to spray everything down and then leave it for the ammonia solution to do its job and disinfect everything on the floor. And then when it starts to dry, you want to go back, spray it down again, and then wipe it with towels. It's the same process for everything, for all hard surfaces. By then you have cleaned the room and are ready to bring your personal things back in. Items that have been soaked in the ammonia can be wiped off and brought in and put back into place. Items that are more delicate and cannot be soaked can be sprayed. You want to give the ammonia time to kill most of the mold before you go back, spray it down again, and then wipe off the remaining mold particles. So it is much better to soak things whenever you can. But sometimes you cannot, like with picture frames. If you spray the ammonia solution into the sides of the picture frames, oftentimes it will get behind the glass and then ruin the artwork or photograph. So what you want to do is just spend some more time with them spraying the solution onto the towel and then wiping it down carefully a bunch of times, making sure that you go around the grooves of the glass so that no mold is around the grooves. And again, you want to do that with something like a butter knife with a towel wrapped around it or a screwdriver. Things like stuffed animals and pillows that you cannot bleach, they really should be thrown away. Stuffed animals are not that expensive to replace, and oftentimes the mold will continue to grow within the stuffed animal. So I had these pillows on the couch and I try to decontaminate them by soaking them in the ammonia solution for 2 or 3 times. But each time, after drying them, this stale, moldy smell remained. And I knew it was because the mold had gotten deep inside the pillows somehow, and it would be impossible to get out. And the last thing I want is these stuffed animals or these pillows right next to my kids' faces. So it was easier just to throw out the stuffed animals and the pillows. So for your children's safety, go ahead and throw out the stuffed animals. As for the regular pillows on your bed, you're going to need to bleach those. And you could do that for 24 hours. And then see if they smell good after you dry them. If any smell remains, I'll recommend throwing those out. Some pillows you cannot do that, like the memory foam pillows, you cannot get wet. If you get them wet, they're impossible to dry. So I would recommend throwing those out as well and going and buying new pillows. The same thing with papers, newspapers or cardboard. These all should be thrown away. So if you have a stack of newspapers downstairs, or a bunch of cardboard boxes, the best thing to do is to throw these away and get the plastic bins instead to store things in. Important paperwork that does not appear moldy, I would recommend placing in plastic bags and then tying them shut. You could also get large Ziploc bags for very important documents like birth certificates. When you bag all of this up, just keep them in plastic bags, or even take those and put them in plastic storage bins with a lid. And that way you can isolate the mold and figure out later which things are necessary to throw out so that it won't overwhelm you. You got a file cabinet full of papers. Just take the papers and put it into a plastic bag and tie it shut to contain the mold. And once you get done with the house, and you have time to organize your paperwork, then you can go ahead and put the paperwork into smaller size bags, into Ziploc bags, and then use a plastic bin to store all that in. But it's not good to hold on to anything like cardboard if you found mold all throughout your house. Same thing with DVDs. I had a collection of like 1,000 DVDs, and they were in a closet that I found a lot of mold in. So I had to throw out all the DVD cases. I kept the CDs, and I soaked the CDs in water and bleach, and then I put the CDs into Ziploc bags, but it was too hard to clean all those cases. So the best thing to do for everybody's safety is throw out stuff like that. Same thing with books. I would recommend placing in plastic bags. Go ahead and try to put them in Ziploc bags. Bag them up into garbage bags. After you get the worst of it out, then you could open the bags and see which books are not that bad, which books could be wiped down on the outside, which books could be kept. You just might have to keep those in large Ziploc bags, the more valuable ones that you do not want to part with. By then everything should be disinfected. Then you want to put everything back in your room. As far as organization takes place, I have found that it's easiest to clean one room at a time. Otherwise, it just gets too complicated. You just have things all over the place. But you don't want to get confused. You don't want to get overwhelmed. The worst is letting the mold build up and not doing anything about it. Once you start cleaning the house, you're reducing the amount of mold in the air and you will survive. Another cleaning product that is very important to use is called CLR, and it stands for Calcium, Lime, and Rust Remover. It is an acid-based cleaning product designed to clean plastics, metals, and porcelain. CLR is not good on woods, on your drywalls, on your hardwood floors, on anything wood. And of course, CLR will not be good on your clothes, linens, your mattress, or box springs. But CLR will be good to use on things that are plastic, like your vacuum cleaner, like your shower, your sinks, your oven. Anything metal or plastic, CLR will be good at. But again, you must dilute it before using it as a spray. So for every gallon of water, you want to add 1/4 cup of CLR. And we will call that the CLR solution. If you do not dilute it like this, it will be harmful to breathe. It will be harmful to get into your eyes. So when using the CLR solution, you will do the same process as with the ammonia. You spray the solution on, and then you let it go to work. Then later, when the solution begins to dry, you want to go back, you want to spray more CLR solution onto that, and then you wipe away any remaining mold spores. The CLR solution is ideal for cleaning things that are plastic, glass, metal, porcelain. So, like the label on the bottle says, it is good for cleaning sinks, bathtubs, tile, toilets, vinyl floors, metals, and very importantly, it is good for cleaning the vinyl siding on the outside of your homes. If any of you have found mold growing on the outside of your houses and you have vinyl siding, you have aluminum siding, you have something other than wood on the outside of your houses, you want to use the CLR solution to clean that. Also, CLR is the best at cleaning windows. But once again, the CLR product is not as good as ammonia on wood and on your walls. If you do not have CLR and you just have ammonia, you could use the ammonia solution. However, I would recommend that you buy the CLR the next chance you have, because it will be very important to use on your windows, for example, which are a challenge to fully clean with just ammonia. You can also use the CLR solution to clean things in your kitchen, like the fridge, the oven, and the countertops. Same thing with bleach and ammonia. It is not good to mix CLR and ammonia. Alright, this brings us to the very important subject of vacuum cleaners. Vacuum cleaners should not be used until you decontaminate them. Otherwise, they'll just spread the mold spores all over the room, including rooms that you've just decontaminated. So tell everyone in the house the vacuum is off limits and try to decontaminate it as soon as possible. And you do this by removing the bag inside the vacuum and you throw that away. You try to buy new vacuum bags if possible, or spray down the ones you have with ammonia solution and let those dry. Next, look for any air filters in the vacuum. One of the filters should be right here. It's easy to take out. And you want to bleach this thing along with stuff like this that has no electrical components. The other filter should be behind here, and it fits right in here. I already threw it out, but it looks like this. If it is a cardboard filter, I would recommend throwing out. If you can't decontaminate it by putting it in the bleach and water, I would throw it out. And you don't want to neglect extending the cord all the way and cleaning the entire cord. So I will be using the CLR to spray down this vacuum cleaner. I will also spray down this part of the vacuum cleaner too with the CLR solution. This has electrical components here. I'm going to mix some bleach and water, about 1 cup of bleach per gallon of water, and then I'm going to pour it into this hose. So I am going to mix up 1 cup of bleach with a gallon of water. And I am going to pour it inside the vacuum hose. It will stay up usually if you kind of use a corner like this. And you'll let that sit for 24 hours. Meanwhile, we have the spray, the CLR solution spray to spray down the rest of the vacuum cleaner and the parts of the vacuum cleaner with electrical cords. So you will use the CLR spray to spray the rest of the vacuum cleaner down. And like I said before, bleach will be the best for soaking anything. If you need to soak anything, bleach will be the best. And if you're spraying down anything metal or plastic, use the CLR spray. Then like everything, you want to go back and spray it down a second time and then wipe everything down. It helps to cut the towels into real small pieces so that you could use a screwdriver and then clean out the inside like this. I'm kind of using a long, thin screwdriver. I don't want to submerge this because this is electrical here. So I'm just going to continue to spray it down 3-4 times, as many times as you can manage. Try to get into all the areas here. Same thing with this. Instead of trying to get a big towel into this, it helps to kind of cut the towels into smaller pieces, and then you can clean inside the cracks pretty easily. This piece unhooked here, so I'm just going to soak this whole thing in bleach here.